Okay. It looks like, well, it's 1 minute before 8 o'clock, and it looks like we still have a few people entering. So let's give it another minute, and then we can start. Thank you, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Again, we are just waiting for one or two more people to join us. So just bear with us for another minute or two. Thank you. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. My name is Duncan Petersen. I am the South African Finance Deputy, and very happy to be your host for this very important event. So good morning to the excellencies who have joined us, the delegates who are here. A warm welcome to our side event on mobilizing G20 private investment for sustainable growth in Africa, a ministerial dialogue. We really appreciate all of you joining us. We know many of you have either just arrived in South Africa or arrived very late last night, so we appreciate that you were able to join us here and to take the time to be with us in Zimbabwe. I won't take much of your time because we have quite a packed agenda. So I would like to welcome the two co-chairs of the Compact with Africa, the Minister of Finance of South Africa, Minister Godongwana, seated next to me, and the Vice Chancellor and Minister of Finance for Germany, Vice Chancellor Klingbeil. And of course, we are also joined by President Banga of the World Bank. I will immediately hand over to the Minister for his opening remarks. Just to let you know, we are joined by the media for the opening session. So for the opening remarks of the Minister, the Vice Chancellor, and President Banga, the media will be in the room, and then we will ask them to leave as we conclude the rest of our proceedings. Minister Godongwana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Peters. Got a bit of my voice is bad. You'll bear with me. Excellencies, distinguished ministers, representatives of the international organizations, I welcome you to the vibrant province of KwaZulu-Natal, also known as the Zulu Kingdom. Characterized by rich traditions, cultural diversity, and beautiful scenery. I suspect even the cultural event tonight will have a different spin to the one you saw in Cape Town. The Zulu tradition and dancing is of a special type. That's what you'll be witnessed tonight. Good morning to those of you here, and good day to our online participants. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this ministerial dialogue on mobilizing G20 private investment for sustainable growth in Africa. As the G20 president for 2025, South Africa is honored to host this important side event in collaboration with our co-chair, the Federal Republic of Germany, and our valued partners, the World Bank Group, the International Monetary Fund, and the African Development Bank, and the African Center for Economic Transformation. This dialogue is taking place at a pivotal moment. Africa's development trajectory is at a crossroad. While the continent is rich in opportunity, it continues to face significant challenges, ranging from infrastructure deficit and climate vulnerability to constrained fiscal space and limited access to long-term private capital. In this context, the Compact with Africa initiative remains a promising platform for fostering reform-driven investment partnership between African countries and the private sector. The initiative is co-chaired by Germany and South Africa and was initiated under the Germany G20 presidency to promote private investment in Africa, including infrastructure. Since its launch in 2017, the Compact for Africa has grown into a dynamic initiative that has mobilized over 191 million in private capital, $191 million in private capital, supported by the development of bankable projects and improved access to services for over 13.5 million people. It has also fostered a strong peer learning network among participating countries, supported by institutions like the African Center for Economic Research, and provided a structured framework for reform through regular monitoring and technical assistance. Today's dialogue has three key objectives. First, to raise awareness of the Compact with Africa as a platform for political dialogue and cooperation between the G20 members and reform-oriented African countries. Second, to showcase the tangible impact of the Compact to date, highlighting successful projects and reform outcomes across member countries. And thirdly, to present the vision for an enhanced Compact with Africa, a more ambitious phase that aims to deepen technical assistance, expand country coverage, and galvanize strong G20 involvement, particularly from the private sector and development finance institutions. This morning, the agenda reflects goals. We will begin with a roundtable discussion on experience and lessons learned from the implementing reforms supported by the Compact with Africa. We will also hear from key institutional partners and development leaders on how we can scale up the initiative. Importantly, we will explore how to strengthen in-country coordination, enhance mutual accountability, and identity in innovative financing mechanisms that can unlock greater private sector participation. These discussions are not only timely but also essential if we are to meet the Sustainable Development Goals and build resilient, inclusive economic across the continent. As we look ahead, the success of the Compact with Africa will depend on our collective commitment. We must ensure that this initiative remains country-owned, reform-driven, and results-oriented. And we must work together, governments, multilateral institutions, and the private sector, to create the enabling conditions for sustainable investment and inclusive growth. In closing, I want to thank all of you for your presence and your continued support. Let us use this platform to reaffirm our shared commitment to Africa's development and to forge stronger, more impactful partnerships for the future. I thank you. Sorry for my voice.
Thank you, Minister Godongwana. For those of you who are hearing the Minister for the first time, I can assure you this is not what he usually sounds like. But it is winter in South Africa, and that's why we've brought you to the warmest part of our country, so that you don't have to suffer the winter along with the rest of us. Thank you, Minister. May I now request His Excellency Vice-Chancellor Klingbeil for his remarks. Vice-Chancellor.
Yeah, thank you so much. And dear Enoch, dear AJ, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by thank the South African partners for hosting us and bringing us together for this important meeting. We greatly appreciate the Presidency's ambition to further strengthen the G20 Compact with Africa with a view to ensure its successful future. It is especially appropriate that this meeting takes place in Africa under African leadership, and it's an honor and a pleasure for me to co-chair this meeting with our close partner, South Africa. The G20 Compact with Africa has since 2017 become a key platform in our joint efforts to support reforms which foster private investments and sustainable economic growth in African countries. Evidence indeed suggests that Compact members have higher levels of foreign direct investments. It also embodies a broader principle: multilateralism can and is the answer to global challenges. However, it is important to recognize that the initiative's full potential impact is still emerging, partly due to unexpected external challenges such as COVID-19 pandemic and global uncertainties. This highlights the necessity for continued political and financial commitment to unlock the Compact's full potential for sustainable and inclusive growth across Africa. At this juncture, let us also talk about lessons learned and best practices. What has been achieved, what needs to be improved. These insights form the basis for the Compact's future. Once we have identified the next steps, we must implement them. Our shared goal is to make the Compact even better, enhance its impact, and ensure it responds even more effectively to the priorities of our African partners. The Compact facilitates the identification of common challenges and promotes mutual learning with the sharing of success stories and best practices. Germany's new government wants to deepen its engagement with its African partners, and we will continue to provide strong support with the Compact. But more generally, we also want to engage in new thinking about development partnerships. The German government has committed itself to establish a new North-South Commission. Our plan is to set up an international forum where experts from politics, civil society, business, and research can meet on a regular basis to search for new and efficient solutions. I envision independent experts from all relevant areas from all parts of the world coming together on a regular basis. And let me underline, for me, it's important that we don't have a platform where the North is telling the South what to do. We have to come together on the same level and have to find common answers to all the challenges we're facing in the world. And at the same time, we will continue to make use of existing instruments. The G20 Compact with Africa is one of them, a dynamic and result-driven initiative that demonstrates the power of partnership and peer-to-peer learning. We thus want to encourage our international partners, especially the World Bank and the IMF, to further deepen their already successful contributions to the Compact. This is not only a strategic investment, it is also one that can boost their growth, create business opportunities, and reduce pressure on public budgets in important member states. To help these partners with the support of the Compact with Africa, Germany will provide an initial contribution of 10 million euros to the World Bank's Trust Fund this year. We are convinced that this is a worthwhile investment, and we will be very pleased to see other G20 members to join us. Therefore, we call all G20 partners to consider making their own contributions to the World Bank Trust Fund to help ensure the Compact's long-term success. Only through our joint efforts we can truly unlock the full potential with the G20 Compact with Africa and make a lasting impact for the benefit of our African partners and the global community. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice-Chancellor Klingbeil, for your opening remarks, and to the Minister as well for his. Now that we've heard about the political impetus and the direction of the Compact with Africa, we now turn to the practitioners of the initiative to hear more about how we operationalize the Compact with Africa as well as its future prospects. I have the pleasure to invite President of the World Bank, Mr. AJ Banga, to open the Ministerial Roundtable session and share with us the World Bank's role in providing advisory support and technical assistance in supporting the Compact with Africa. President Banga, over to you.
Thank you, Duncan. And Enoch and Lars, thank you for having us part of this effort. And Lars, thank you for that generous contribution that you just announced. I appreciate it. Look, by the middle of this century, 1 in every 4 people on Earth will be African. Africa will have the largest workforce in the world. It will also be the youngest. Its cities will be among the fastest growing. But population is just one part of that story. It's got land and water, abundant land and water. It could help feed a rapidly growing planet. Its critical minerals can power everything from electrical vehicles to solar panels. And it has the resources to meet its own energy needs, and in fact, potentially, the world's energy needs. So Africa, I believe, will help to define this century. But it needs the right investments focused on opportunity, not on need. We have a chance to unlock a tremendous engine of global growth. And I think the way Lars talks about the Institute is yet another way of thinking about how to create the right dialogue for this growth to be unlocked. But here's the issue. This future I just portrayed is not guaranteed, because in the same period of time, over the coming decade plus, or across the world in the developing economies, 1.2 billion young people will enter the workforce. Each will be competing for about the 400 million jobs that are likely to be created in those countries in that period. That leaves 800 million young people without hope, opportunity, and work. Nowhere is that challenge more acute than in the same continent we just portrayed as an opportunity. Half of the generation could be left behind. That will transform their energy and optimism into despair. It will fuel instability and migration with implications for every region, for every economy, for every community. And that's why we're focused on, as Enoch said, the private sector. The private sector is the engine of job creation. The private sector accounts for 90% of all employment, most of it through small businesses. Working to create the conditions that allow all businesses to thrive is what we're trying to do. And that is the point that Duncan was saying. What's the practitioner doing? Because the private sector cannot succeed on its own. It needs the right conditions to thrive, conditions that don't just arise by chance. And I think what we bring is something that can help uniquely in making that happen. Because we operate across a three-set continuum. We combine public finance with expertise and private sector support to help countries move from planning to implementation and from implementation to actual growth. So first, public investment. Through IBRD and IDA, and a number of countries here are very generous donors to both of those, we help governments finance infrastructure, human and physical. These are the foundations that people and businesses need to thrive. Second, policy reform. Our Knowledge Bank works with countries to improve regulatory environments, strengthen governance, and tie financing to results. Third, access to capital. Once the basics are in place, IFC and MEGA, they support the private sector through early-stage catalytic financing, risk capital, insurance, financial tools to expand. We're trying to focus on 5 sectors with the strongest potential to create jobs: infrastructure, agribusiness, healthcare, tourism, and value-added manufacturing. Now, why these? These are not aid-dependent sectors. They're growth industries. They're capable of building middle classes. They're capable of expanding markets. They don't outsource jobs from the developed world. They grow opportunity that is locally relevant where people live. But capital has to flow for that. And private investors don't fund good intentions. They fund opportunity. They have to see a risk-reward relationship. They have to see risks being managed, returns being possible, and the rules being clear and understandable. So our private sector investment lab is focused on that challenge. We've got 5 key areas we're working on. Let me quickly run through them. You'll see how they connect to all the work going on with the Compact for Africa. Supporting governments, the first one is that commit to regulatory and policy reforms through our Pay for Results financing. It's something we're doing with the M300 work, connecting 300 million people in Africa to electricity in partnership with the African Development Bank and with help from the IMF as well. Second, created a single window for all our guaranteed risk products to simplify access. Third, increased local currency lending to now 30% of IFC's annual lending. But more importantly, we're working in 20 countries with the IMF and others to develop local capital markets. Launched the Frontier Opportunity Fund to absorb first loss risk. And finally, the originate to distribute idea, meaning standardize and pool development loans, make it easier for institutional investors to enter new markets. As you know, that is where the large pools of capital are: pension funds, asset managers, and the like. We've enlisted Doug Peterson, who's just retired as CEO of Standard & Poor's, to help us so that the rating agency perspective is brought into this thinking. I think this will take a little time, but I believe it has the biggest payoff possible over time. Each brings us closer to the scale of investment that development demands. The problem is, can't do it alone. Creating jobs at scale requires an orchestra. And that's where the Compact for Africa comes in, and that what Germany and South Africa are doing. I think this is very critical because we need to create the momentum of like-minded partners. In the first phase, the compact has helped 13 countries do everything from modernizing customs systems to digitizing tax collections and to improving commercial laws. Whether it's Tunisia, Ethiopia, Morocco, others, you will hear from Egypt and Côte d'Ivoire later. These reforms have laid the groundwork for more private sector investment. Now I think we're entering the second phase, which is the point Lars was talking about, learn and move forward. We'll continue supporting all compact countries while focusing new efforts on those with the right and strong reform momentum. The goal is simple: help governments create the kind of environment where businesses, small and large, can start, can grow, but most importantly, can hire. So we can create jobs for those young people we started the conversation with. This aligns very closely with the pillars we're focused on. I think when governments lead, institutions support, and capital flows, we can go further, we can go faster, and that's when the orchestra comes together. That's when the symphony plays. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, President Banga. And on behalf of the co-chairs, I would really like to express our gratitude to the World Bank for all your support throughout the years in monitoring and reporting on the challenges, but also in the operationalization of this very important initiative. We will now move to the ministerial dialogue, where we will hear from compact countries on the various lessons learned in terms of their successes of the implementation of their various initiatives. And I would like to invite our colleague from Egypt, the Vice Minister for Finance, Yasser Sabri, to share Egypt's experience and success stories.
Thank you very much, Duncan.
The ministers has helpfully reminded me, as I said earlier, that at this point we will ask the media to leave the room, although I'm sure they would have benefited from hearing from the Vice Minister, but we'll give them a few minutes to pack up their cameras. Apologies for that. Just give us a minute.